Hi, friends, welcome. So, this is class 4 of my beginner series. And if you haven't taken the first few classes and have never taken yoga, I really suggest going back through those first three because this will just be like a real life yoga class. We're going to move with breath a little bit. I'm going to take some of the alignment focus out and I'm going to add that back in the next class. But I feel like since we're kind of halfway through this series that I think will be about maybe 6 to 8 classes, I just thought it'd be good to break it up and revisit the poses that we've already done, but then add in a little bit more of this vinyasa aspect, which is movement with breath, because I want you to feel comfortable going to what's called maybe a hatha class where you hold poses a little bit longer to a vinyasa class where you're going to move with breath. And you may want to practice all styles of yoga, which I totally recommend, or you may find that you really like one over the other, depending on where you're at in your life, how your body feels, injuries, all that good stuff. I always like to have props ready, so you'll see that I don't have my blocks and that's what I want ready. So we're going to do a couple blocks or books, have a blanket or firm pillow to sit on, not something fluffy, just because that's not going to keep you elevated. We want to bring the floor to you in some of these poses. So having a soft blanket, your booty might sink right back to the floor. That's what we don't want. So I'm going to grab my blocks and just have whatever props you have available to you, and we'll work with it. So always want to start with just a few moments of centering. So come to a seat. Close your eyes. Palms can rest face down or up. And then in your seat, you're rooted down through your sits bones. Your low back comes kind of in and lifts up. Lift up through your chest and the crown of your head. And your spine is tall yet not rigid. So you feel like there is a little bit movement there, but you've got good posture. Soften your face. Bring your awareness to your breath. Every time your mind wanders, bring your attention back to your breath. Bring your hands together in front of your heart and set an intention for your practice today. So that could just be one word that you want to cultivate feeling throughout your practice and carry with you off your mat today. So yoga is not just about this physical practice of movement. It truly is a way of life. So we want to bring this compassion and patience and love that we're going to cultivate on our mat today through our movement. We want to bring that off of our mat. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Open your eyes, rest your hands down. And if a word didn't pop up for you during that, and I didn't even give you much time, it's all good. Something might come to you during your practice. We just want to be open to the opportunity of an intention. All right, so come to hands and knees, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, toes can be tucked or not. Again, if I move too fast for you, I just want you to take it at your own pace. So if you end up having to catch up with me, there's going to be opportunities to do that, and I'm not going to move crazy fast either. I just want to get you into a cadence of what a class would look like. Inhale, lift your tailbone, take your gaze forward, arch your spine, and then exhale, press into the earth, round your back. Look at your belly. Inhale. Arch spine, lift tail. Exhale. Press down into your mat, round your back. And then 3 more rounds on your own. So just follow your breath. And when I mean take these 3 rounds on your own, it just is exactly that. You're just doing your cat-cow. Good. Now come back to your neutral spine, which means where we began. Walk your hands forward just a skosh. Shift your shoulders up to your ears and draw your shoulder blades toward each other so you're kind of melting your heart. And then your scapula is just nice and firm, your shoulder blades on your back. Now kind of round, so take your tailbone down a little bit so you bring a little rounding into your low back. Maintain the strength you've created in your arms and then lift your hips up. Good. Bend your knees, shift back. Maybe walk your feet back a touch as long as you can continue to bend your knees and lift your tailbone up. And then from here, lengthen your heels down. They certainly do not need to touch. If they are touching, it's a good indication that you actually need to walk your feet back a little bit so that you can bring the arch into your spine. A few rounds of breath. Bring your knees down and take a break whenever you need to. Come back to the pose when you can. So holding a down dog will be your resting pose eventually in your yoga practice. It'll just be like second nature. In the beginning, it's really hard. So bring your knees down if you need. You can claw your mat with your finger pads. Good. Now inhale, shift forward to a plank. Knees can come down here. Tailbone carves toward your heels, so your abdominals turn on. Shift forward a little bit and then bend your elbows. You can take them nice and wide. Untuck your toes. Take your legs wide, maybe even as wide as your mat. Walk your hands out to the side a little bit. Elbows still wide. Lift shoulders to ears. Head to arm bones, roll up away from your mat and lift your chest. This is cobra. You can slide the sides of your throat back, maybe take your gaze forward. If it feels really crunchy in your low back, take your legs wider, elbows wider, so that your chest has the opportunity to open up and your scapula can slide down your back. Good. Come on back down. Press up, hands and knees. Tuck toes, lift hips, downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Inhale, lift heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply and take your gaze forward. And then little steps all the way up to the top of your mat. So top of your mat, front of your mat, toward the short edge. Feet hips width distance apart. Straightening your legs so that you can get the hamstring stretch. If you're bending your knees, you're not going to get the stretch in your legs. So I want you to walk your hands forward. Maybe they come on blocks so that you can straighten the legs. Get the juicy stretch in the hammies. Option to grab opposite elbows, sway a little side to side, ragdoll. Relax your jaw. Good. Let your hands fall to the mat. Take them to your shins and walk them up the front side of your body. So you might be a little dizzy. Just hang out here for a moment. Feet are still hips width distance apart. You're pressing down into all 4 corners and you're receptive to this practice. So inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. Sun salutations. Walk your hands forward, maybe to blocks. You're extending through the crown of your head. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, step back, plank. Remember, knees can come down here. Shift forward, shoulders go past the wrists, knees come down or no, elbows start to bend. Untuck your toes, hands can be wide. Lift armpits to ears, roll shoulders back. Lift your chest, you may not lift it much, it's okay. Slide the sides of your throat back, look forward. And then come on back down. Tuck toes, hands and knees, or downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift heels. Exhale, bend knees. Look ahead. Little steps to the top of your mat. Feet hips width distance. Hinge at hips, fold. Root down into your feet to lift your chest. Lift your arms. Reach up to the sky. Big breath in. Hands together. And in front of the heart. One sun salutation A right there. We're going to do two more. Inhale, reach up. Look up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. So remember, this is moving with breath. Walk your hands forward. Look ahead, lengthen through your spine. And then bend your knees. Plant your hands. Step back, plank. Start your inhale, shift forward. Knees might come down. Elbows can be nice and wide. Untuck your toes. Take your legs wide. Armpits to ears, head to arm bones. Roll back, lift heart. Look forward, cobra. And then chest comes down. Tuck toes. Come through hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply. Look forward. Little steps to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Root down through your feet. Inhale. Reach up, look up. Palms together and in front of the heart. Good, let's do one more. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. Walk your hands forward, look ahead. And then bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to plank. Shift forward, knees come down. Good, lower to your belly. Untuck your toes. Armpits lift to ears, chest lifts, cobra. Come back down. Tuck toes. Come through hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Remember, knees can come down if you need a little break. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep clawing your mat with your finger pads. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees. Little steps to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Root down into your feet. Inhale, reach up, touch the sky. Hands come together into the heart. Beautiful. So now we'll get into some lunges. Inhale, reach arms up. Exhale, hinge at hips, fold. Walk hands forward, look ahead, straight legs. Good, and then exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, just step to downward facing dog. So on this next one, lift your right leg up. And with your lifted leg, turn your kneecap so it faces down to your mat, keeping your hips square.
Take a big breath in. As you exhale, bend your knee, try to kick your booty with your heel. Draw the knee toward the chest, and then take a step with your right foot up your mat. So it might not be one big step, it might be a lot of little steps. You can have your blocks, and you want your front knee stacked over the ankle. Hug your legs to the midline. So think of a pair of scissors and they're apart. You're trying to bring the scissors back together to cut a piece of paper. So it's like your legs scissor together and then rise up. And this is called crescent lunge or high lunge. Remember, your back knee can always come down and you could be right here. Maybe even want some padding for your back knee. Good. Inhale, breath here. Exhale. Lift your femur bone, that's the bone of your leg, up to the sky. Bend your front knee deeper, arms reach up. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Bring your hands down and step to downward facing dog. Take a breath in and let it out. Beautiful. Lift your left leg up, kneecap faces down. Bend your upper knee. Try to kick your booty. Now draw your knee toward your chest. Shift forward a little bit. Set the left foot down wherever it wants to land, and then take those little steps. Doesn't have to be pretty. Up to the top of the mat. Front knee over ankle. Hands can be on blocks. Use those like scissor legs and come on up. This action there. Hugging muscle to bone. Lift your back thigh. Maybe you take your back knee down. Soften your shoulders away from your ears and take your gaze forward. And breathe. It's okay if your legs are shaking. That's supposed to be happening. One more inhale. Exhale, bring your hands down. Root them down on your mat. Step to your downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Let's do that lunge again. Lift your right leg. Bend the knee. Bring the knee toward your chest. Shift forward. Step your right foot down. Maybe lots of steps. Hug muscle to bone. And come on up. Crescent lunge. So we'll add in a twist. Take your right hand to your right hip and take your left forearm in front of or outside your left thigh. And then just start to peel the gaze back. And this left hip might want to come forward a little bit to aid in the twist. If you want to deepen here, you'll slide the arm down the outside of the thigh, bend the elbow, and take this right hand, stack it on top of your left. Draw the thumbs to the midline. Let the left hip dip down a little bit, bend your right knee, maybe take your gaze up. If you fall, it's all good. Remember, your back knee can come down. Lift up, come back up to lunge. Reach your arms up. This should be hard. Hands come down. Step back, downward facing dog. That's what I love about yoga. And know that you can bring your knees down, take a break, or stay in your down dog. But what I love about the practice is even though I've had a consistent practice for many years, it's still challenging. It's still hard. And that's what's so cool about it. It's a practice. All right, so we're in our down dog. Left leg lifts up. Bend upper knee. Shift the knee forward. And then step the left foot down. And do what you need to do to get it to the front of your mat. 90-degree bend. Squeeze legs to midline. Reach arms up. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Good. Left hand, left hip. Right arm outside of the thigh.
And then you can just simply take your gaze back, and that's your twist. If you want to deepen it, you might slide the arm down, bend the elbow, and then take the top hand on top of the bottom, press the palms together, and let your right hip, the front, maybe drops down a little bit. Keep pressing palms together. Maybe take the gaze up. Notice how your balance changes. And breathe. Good. Take your hands down, and then you're going to step to the top of your mat. Feet hips width distance apart. Forward fold. Root down into your feet, and then inhale. Reach up with your arms. Touch the sky with your fingertips. Bring your palms together and in front of the heart. And then let the arms be by the sides. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Come back to the intention that you set at the beginning of class and breathe. Maybe a new intention comes to you like perseverance, like you can totally do this. All right, let's move on to some balance. So let's shift the balance to the right leg. So you're just gonna think about lifting your kneecap to engage your quadriceps, rooting down into all four corners of your foot. You can take your block on the highest setting if you like and start with your foot on the block. Good, hands at hips, or ditch the block. Beautiful. Maybe arms reach up, keep your spine tall. And flex those toes that are lifted up in the air toward your knee. Good. Now, take your left hand to your hip and take your right arm out like a half letter T, and then open up the knee to the left. Keep your right leg strong. Engage your right glutes. Take the left knee back through center. Right hand wraps around the front knee or shin. Same principles with this twist. So hand can start here on the left hip. Maybe take the gaze back. Maybe extend the left arm behind you. And you're just peeking back. You don't have to turn your head all the way back. Good. Now take your chest forward. Come back to where we started. Reach your arms up again. Take a big breath in. Take a big breath out. Straighten the leg. Maybe it's all the way down here. All good. Maybe you lift it a little bit higher as long as your spine is staying upright and not back here. You can try to straighten your leg. Bend the knee. Take the hands to the heart. And step the left foot down. Beautiful. Okay, other side. Hug muscle to bone, strong on your left leg. Hands can start at hips. Lift your right knee. Maybe the foot goes on the block. Flex toes toward your knee. Breathe. And then maybe open the knee to the right. You can keep your right hand on your right hip. Your left arm can extend out like a half letter T. Take your gaze forward. Good. Now bring your right knee back forward. Take your left hand, wrap it around the right shin or knee. Right hand can stay on the hip as you slowly turn the gaze back. And then maybe your right arm lengthens back. And maybe the gaze does the same. Good, now bring everything back through center. Reach your arms up. If your spine stays nice and tall and your left leg is also straight, you can play with straightening your right leg. Maybe it starts down here and maybe it lifts up. and let it go. Whew. Okay, good. Find your footing. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hinge at hips, fold. Good. Walk your hands forward. Lengthen through your spine and the crown of your head. Good. And then fold. Bend your knees. Root your hands down on your mat. Claw your mat with your finger pads. And step back to down dog. Now lift your right leg again. Down dog split or three-legged dog. Bend your upper knee. Try to kick your booty. Draw your knee toward your chest and then step the right foot down. Little steps, little steps, little steps to the top of your mat. Now take your back heel down. So the pinky toe edge of your back foot is in line with the short end of your mat. So it's the back of your mat. Act as if your front heel is drawing toward your back heel and you're trying to crinkle up your mat. Left hand to left hip. Good. And then forearm comes up to thigh. And then come all the way up. So this is warrior two. You're going to extend your arms long. Try to square your shoulders over your hips. So notice if you're going here or back here, it's usually here. So shift back. Re-bend into your front knee. Soften your shoulders down. Take a couple inhales and exhales. And then look over your front middle finger. Palms face down. Now, flip your front palm up to the sky. Inhale, reach up with that right arm. We're going to flow a little here with breath. Exhale, side angle pose. Forearm to thigh. Left arm reaches up. Couple more times. Inhale. Reach up with your right arm. Exhale. Forearm to thigh. Left arm reaches up. Bend to your front knee. Last one. So good. Good. Now reach up with the right arm and you're going to take your hands all the way down to your mat, simultaneously lifting your back heel. You're in that lunge again. Downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Lift your left leg. Bend knee. Take the knee toward your face. Step your left foot down and then take little steps all the way to the top of the mat. Right heel spins down. Left knee bends. Good. And then right hand, right hip. Left forearm, left thigh. Try to crinkle up your mat between your feet and come on up. Arms nice and long. Soften shoulders down, palms face down. Bend your front knee. Flip the front palm to face up. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, forearm to thigh, right arm reaches up. Inhale, left arm high. Exhale, forearm to thigh. Do you like that little rhyme? Inhale, reach up. Exhale, I lost the rhyme. Good. Last one, left arm reaches up. And then you cartwheel your arms down to your mat as you lift your back heel. Step back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Shift forward to plank. Maybe bring your knees down, elbows wide. Come all the way to the belly. Okay, just a couple little back bends here. So come up to your forearms. Shoulders line up over your elbows. Legs are wide. Okay. Take your gaze forward. Make fists with your hands. Pinky is down. Thumb is on top. Now, press down into your elbows and try to drag them to the back of your mat to scoop your heart forward. And then lift your belly button just a touch so a cute little line of ladybugs can go under there. Take your gaze forward and breathe. Good. Slowly come on down. And now we'll take locust. So arms go back by the sides, palms face down, forehead comes down. Actually, palms face up to start. Forehead down, legs are wide. Okay, lift your armpits up toward your ears and then lift your shoulders away from your mat. Have your palms face down now and your hands are outside your mat. Lift your chest. Feel your low back muscles turn on and try not to crank your neck up. It's not a pose to crank your neck. So take your gaze back down. Lift your legs up. Lift your belly button toward your spine. Lift up through your inner and outer ankles. Maybe lift your hands and breathe. One more inhale. Exhale, come on down. Good. Now take your elbows wide, stack your hands, bring your forehead to the backs of your hands. Shimmy your hips a little side to side. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders and come on up. Tabletop. Good. Now bring your big toes together. Take your knees as wide as your mat and sit your hips back. Child's pose. So your hips may be up here. That's fine. Otherwise, sit your hips back. Fingertips reach forward. Elbows come down. Forehead down. Take your head side to side. Relax your jaw. Come back to your intention. Good. Now walk your hands back toward your knees. Bring your knees together and sit off to one side. Take your legs out in front of you. Scoot your booty up toward the top of your mat or just to the middle and grab a block. And then come all the way down to your back. So feet are hips width distance apart. I'm just going to do one more back bend. So knees stack over ankles, fingertips walk toward your heels just to make a nice space for your neck. Okay, so grip the mat with your toes so your arches lift a little bit and then spread the toes nice and wide. Press down into your heels. Roll your sits bones forward or your pubic bone down a little bit, or even think about your tailbone kind of down. You're creating some space underneath your low back. Beautiful. Press down into your heels to lift your hips, and then take your hands to the top of the hips, and then just let the hips dip down a little bit. So that'll soften your glutes a little. And we're just going to hold this. You can drag your heels or act like they're dragging toward your shoulders. So your knees go forward a little bit. And you're lighting up the backs of your thighs, your hamstrings. And then there's a sense of expansiveness, expansion through or over the tops of the thighs, pelvis, and chest. Take a big breath in. And then take your hands to these hip points, press down. Beautiful. Draw your knees in. Take some circles, few in each direction. Take your feet back down. This is called like a reclined pigeon or figure four stretch. So take your right ankle over your left thigh, flex the toes toward your knee, and then just organically this little shift forward with the right knee. Again, tailbone goes down to bring the curve to your back or the arch. Stay here. This could feel like a stretch for your outer hip and feel awesome. If you want to add a little bit more, keep this top foot flexed, sits bones still roll forward, and you're just trying to pick the shape up. Notice how that brings in some intensity to the outside of the right thigh. So you can stay with this. If you feel like you have more space without cranking yourself into deepening, you can take your hands and wrap them around the back of your left thigh. And then shift a little back and forth. If your head came up a whole bunch to grab the thigh, you might not be ready for that. But if you feel like you have this and it feels good and you kind of want to come up a little bit, just bring a block underneath your head to support the back of your head so you're not cranking on your neck. And then you can rock a little side to side. Good. Bring your left foot down, unhook your right, and switch sides. Left ankle crosses over right thigh. This left knee just organically shifts forward. And then if you want more, you kind of pin your sits bone down and draw the shape toward the thigh. Rock and roll side to side. You may notice the side might feel different, might feel a little tighter or like you have more space. But we need to honor our body and listen to what it's telling us. So we don't ever work through pain. But big sensation, we breathe and we get through it. Now right foot comes down, unhook the left, remove the block. And draw the knees toward your armpits. You can take the hands to the shins, rock and roll a little side to side. This is like a half happy baby. If you want to take a full happy baby, you'll draw the knees toward the armpits, soles of the feet up to the sky, roll pubic bone or tailbone down, and perhaps you grab the feet. And then you roll side to side. Maybe your head's coming up. Maybe you want that block. And then I'm going to give you a little trick right here at the end of class to calm your central nervous system down. And this will be a great trick for you anytime in your life. It's a tool you can carry with you throughout the day and use in the morning, lunchtime, nighttime. So you just take your legs straight up. And then you take your arms out to the sides. And maybe you close your eyes and you just breathe here. And hopefully you pretty quickly feel a sense of calmness throughout your body. Our central nervous system is what kicks on like the fight, flight, freeze response. So throughout this beginner series, I will talk to you about some poses that can help with anxiety, depression. This is one of them. It's something I suffer from, or I accept and I work with. Yoga is a big part of my journey in that. Good, now bend your knees. Draw them to your chest, lift your hips up and take them to the right a little bit. And then let your knees fall to the left. You might go ahead and just come to a full sideline position with your knees bent, or you might peel the right shoulder blade back a little bit, add more of a twist, and maybe the right shoulder blade doesn't come all the way down. That's okay. but you're starting to open up the chest. You can take the gaze to the right if that feels okay for your neck. Good. Take your gaze back to the left. You can roll all the way back to the left and then come back to your back. Okay. Draw the knees in, pick up the hips, shift them over to the left about an inch or so, and then the knees come down to the right. You can come all the way to the right side. Peel the left shoulder blade back. Maybe it comes down, maybe it doesn't. So this was clearly more flexible for me. It was just like a kind of this easy opening, where the other side definitely was not happening. Close your eyes. Good. Now take your gaze back up. You can roll all the way to the right side. Come back to your back. Draw the knees into your chest and take Shavasana. So legs go out nice and long. You can have them wide. Notice if you automatically wanted to stay really small. So get big, legs wide. Arms out like a letter T or wide by your side. You can walk your shoulder blades together to open up your heart a little bit more. And if this just feels like too much exposure, or you feel very vulnerable in this position, there's a few things you can do to cultivate a little bit more grounding. One hand to belly, one hand to heart. And sometimes I find if I don't want to be just kind of this Shavasana, this open version, you can bend your knees, take your feet hips width distance apart, and then just knock the knees together. And then of course, if this still doesn't feel good, come up to a seat and we'll just be here about 10 rounds of breath. Try to find complete stillness. Anything that's bothering you physically, just make those tiny little adjustments you need to fully surrender to gravity. As your mind wanders, as it will, just draw your attention back to your breath. Every time it wanders, come back to your breath over and over and over again. Take your awareness back to your breath. Come back to the present moment and don't move. Just deepen your breath. Take your head side to side. Good. Draw your knees to your chest. And then just roll off to the side that feels good to you right now, whether it's the left side or the right side. And then just stay here for a moment. Press your top hand into your mat, come up to a seat, and keep your eyes closed. Rest your palms down. Sits bones heavy, spine tall. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Notice how you feel now compared to when you started your practice. Bring your intention back to mind. Maybe you set one, maybe you didn't. No judgment either way. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Namaste. Okay, thank you, yogis. You made it. So what I'm going to focus on moving forward is going a little bit deeper into alignment principles. So I'll kind of break up classes. One class will be upper body alignment principles. One class will be lower body alignment principles. We'll talk about what does namaste mean. We'll talk about this thing that people do at the end of class or the beginning of class sometimes called an om. Why do people call chair pose Utkatasana? So that's Sanskrit. So there's a lot of pieces to add. What I don't want to do is overwhelm you in a beginner series. I want to get your body moving. That's probably why you came here, is to become more flexible, to get in shape, whatever it is, or to calm anxiety. There's a million different reasons why I practice yoga, and it's because of all of those things I just mentioned. So we'll just go a little bit deeper into yoga philosophy. We'll still continue to work on twists. We'll add in back bends, more hip opening. I just want you to feel really successful walking into a yoga studio or moving out of this beginner series tier that I have on Patreon to a full list of classes. So I will end the beginner series when I feel like I've set you up for success to do that. So please share this with your friends. I love any support, and most people I get is through word of mouth, and that's you. So thank you so much, friends. I'll see you next time.